We had an Opposition Day debate just now that was on rural communities and the damage that the government's causing to communities. I was down to speak, but because there were so many people who wanted to do so and the Labour minister spoke for so long that there just wasn't time for all of us to get in. So I just wanted to highlight some of the issues which I see about rural life. Village life, rural life, I mean, is different from living in a town or a city. It's a smaller community, there's fewer social activities around which you can gather and develop social resilience. They tend to be based around things like the pub, the village hall, the village shop or post office, the church, or around country sports. They provide the social glue. And it's when you think of it in those terms that you begin to understand what damage Labour is doing to our rural communities. Because let's take them. Let's look at pubs. They've increased the rates on pubs enormously, around about 30% on average, as well as making it more expensive through employers' national insurance contributions to employ staff, particularly young staff. So they're laying off staff. Managers are doing more and more of the work themselves, and 2 pubs every single day are going bust right now, every single day. Then you've got post offices. The government's not trying to increase post offices or support them. It's actually consulting on closing more of our rural post offices. Look at the church. Now, they're having a tough enough time as it is, but the government's put the boot in, removing the VAT relief for listed places of worship. So it's going to cost them another 20% to repair, keep the roof on some of the finest bits of architecture that our country has. And then country sports. They're consulting to equate owning a shotgun with a firearms license, much more onerous. I have both, and it's much harder and more onerous to get a firearms certificate. The BASC estimate that that's going to knock about a third of participation out of shooting. And then banning trail hunting, which on any rational basis is an entirely legal activity. What they're complaining about is illegal fox hunting. Well, the answer to that is which is already illegal, as everyone knows. The answer to that is to enforce the current law, not to ban a wholly legal activity and peaceable activity that doesn't hurt anyone. And yet that's what they're doing, and they're putting a death knell into a whole section of rural community life built around horses. And then, whilst we're at it, in Norfolk, we've got the ending of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and the Rural England Prosperity Fund. That's it's funding that took over from the EU that comes to about £3 million this year, and it's come to an end. It was meant to be replaced by mayoral funding, but the government's finished one funding round, but then they've delayed the mayoralty by 3 years until 2028, 2 years. And so what's happening in between? They either haven't thought about it or they just don't care. But this is the funding that local authorities use to support local business growth. And it's just deeply depressing that one after another, these policies adding up to hold our rural way of life back. You've got over 100 Labour MPs now represent rural constituencies. And where were they? Where were they standing up for their constituents, fighting the government's assault one after another on all the elements that keep the rural community ticking over and thriving? They just seem to be, they've given up. One would like to think they're too busy looking for jobs on Craigslist. Whilst the Conservatives, we're standing up for rural communities, as you'd expect. Business rates, we have a costed plan to remove business rates entirely for the local high street for $250,000 of the small independent shops that we have on the high street. Cancelling the family farm tax and the family business tax, really important for rural communities. Restoring VAT support for listed places of worship, and opposing the draconian shotgun regulations and the trail hunting ban. I just don't understand why the government is choosing not just one of these, but all of these assaults simultaneously on rural England.